What's up, friends? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so grateful you're here. I am grateful to be here with you. So, listen, I just wanted to come on really quickly and share briefly about the season of life I've been in and just kind of share my perspective and maybe give you permission to kind of go into this season for yourself as well. So, the last several weeks, I've been telling people I'm kind of in a hibernating season or wintering or whatever you want to call it, but just really have kind of taken a time out from everything in life that was not essential, right? So I've still been meeting with my clients and doing my work and taking care of my family and showing up for my life and all of the things. But man, there's just been a lot of stuff out of my control that has kind of fallen on my plate. So if you've been listening to the podcast at all, you know I've got aging parents, and I know a lot of us have aging parents, and we're in that what they call the sandwich generation. So some of us who still have parents alive and still have children or young adults or married adults and then grandkids of our own. We're in this unique time in life where we've got a lot of pressure from a lot of different generations in our family, right? And I know I'm not the only one. I know a lot of you listeners have probably already lost parents, but I know that you've got older kids and grandkids and just a lot of things going on in life, right? We all have things going on. But this thing with my parents, oh man, and it's funny because it kind of came unexpectedly. Although, hello, they've been aging, right? So they're in their 80s. So we kind of all saw it coming, but they just need a little bit more help, emotional help, just support physically and all that sort of stuff. So I've been trying to just kind of step in where and when I can. And so my dad's just had some more health things going on. And so us kids have just had to kind of step in. And I'm grateful to have been able to have the resources and honestly to have had the emotional and mental capacity to be able to step in, right? I know a lot of us have had some family dysfunction in our life, and I'm raising my hand. I think that all of us to some degree have had some family dysfunction we've all had to work through. And so, a couple decades ago, or maybe I wouldn't have been so available or been able to step in like this. And so I am super grateful for just the Lord kind of giving me the capacity and the desire to want to step in right now. So, with all that said, I got some other stuff going on. We have some other extenuating, extended family things going on that I'm kind of in the middle of and trying to help. And we all have it, right? There's just a lot going on in a lot of areas of my life. And so several weeks ago, I just kind of came to the realization of it's time to take a time out. It's time to intentionally pull back and kind of reevaluate, readjust kind of my priorities and my life, my responsibilities, the places which I volunteer or I give, or all of the things in my life. I've just kind of had to take a 30,000-foot view, step back, and just realize that I needed kind of a timeout to figure out how to move forward in this season. And trust me, okay? You guys know I'm a recovering alcoholic. So there's been plenty of seasons in my life that were forced timeouts because I hit burnout hard. I hit a wall hard. Not physically, but metaphorically, I hit an emotional wall. I hit a mental health wall. I hit a physical wall. I was talking with a client this morning about they've had all these medical tests because their stress is manifesting in their body. They have like a heart condition now that has come and they're running all the tests. They're still in the middle of all the tests, but they're coming to realize, man, it really probably is just stress and wear and tear on my body. And so now we're kind of working through that and healing through that burnout and trying to implement all the tools and all the strategies for soul care and self-care. And it's hard. Let me just tell you right now, especially us doers and strivers and people who want to give to the world and serve and love people and do everything to the best of our ability. Man, that is like a one-way ticket sometimes if we don't have good boundaries and soul care, straight into a wall of burnout, okay? And so I've hit burnout many times in my life, but I kind of saw it coming in the fall in my own life with the pressure I was feeling with all these areas in which I was being pulled and tugged on. And so I just took an intentional timeout. I took an intentional hibernation season. So I'm less involved in things in my community or things going on around in my life because I just have to really be intentional with what's going on in my home with my kids and my husband. And then whatever's left, I have to be able to give to my extended family in this season and all of that. And my work is so much a part of who I am and my clients and all of that. And so I've got to have my well, so to speak, internally really filled up. Otherwise, I'm going to be given out of a dry well. And I know all of us, that's for all of us, right? You guys, if we are just so burned out and we're so in that striving and doing and sacrificing and people pleasing sometimes we turn around and we're like, man, who am I? And what do I even want? And I don't want to feel like this, but I don't even know what I want to feel. I don't even know what I want in my life, right? And so I just intentionally took this little hibernation season, and it has been honestly so God ordained and beautiful and wonderful. And I am so grateful. And so here's what I want to say to you today. This is what I want to offer you. If you've got a lot going on in different areas, if you feel this like gnawing or this nagging to kind of go deeper with the Lord and really figure some things out within yourself and really figure out your next chapter as well, I give you permission to go into a hibernation season. I give you permission, if you need it, to go into a hibernation season. You guys, there is nothing more holy than listening to that still small voice inside. It's the Lord, and also it might be your soul longing for that quiet, that stillness, just to kind of realign your priorities and who you want to be and how you want to present yourself even to the world and how you want to do your life. And so, and I know when we got a ton going on, it's so hard to put boundaries up. Oh my gosh, some of us don't even know how to practice boundaries. And I have so much empathy for a lot of you who struggle with putting up boundaries with people or not volunteering for everything at church. And because you feel guilty, right? You feel guilty if you say no, because you're like, well, if somebody asked me at church, that's got to be God's way of inviting me into this. Maybe, but also it could be, man, just because you're capable and amazing and they just want more of you at church, which feels awesome and amazing to feel those accolades and all of that. And maybe it's not church for you. Maybe it's work. Maybe you just feel super overextended and you got to do more and be more and strive more and all of that. Or maybe it is the family members in your life that just expect so much of you and you're the go-to person that helps and all of that. And I think some of us can struggle with like people pleasing tendencies. I know I can. And so I've got to really search my heart. Like, why am I doing these things? Why am I doing it because I want someone to like love me and appreciate me and respect me? Or am I doing it because, wow, it fills me up, it fills my soul up, and the Lord is calling me there, right? It's just this ebb and flow, and we have to really kind of get to know ourselves in each season. And I don't know about you, but as I age, my capacity to do a zillion things when I was in my 20s and my 30s, even early 40s, man, I just felt like I could just climb Mount Everest and then go barbecue for everybody, right? Now I'm like, ooh, Mount Everest? That ship has sailed. Like, I got zero desire to climb Mount Everest. I'm not sure I ever desired to climb Mount Everest, but you get what I'm saying. Like, we want to do and strive and be everything and have the Super Bowl party and throw it for 50 people. And then the next morning, make French toast for all your kids' friends. And I'm telling you this because that is typically what I've been about just giving and loving. And I love it. But sometimes there's these moments, there's these seasons, and we've got to honor them when the Lord offers them to us, to just take a time out and to pull in and really ask the Lord, like, Lord, are you asking me to do this? And Lord, if you're not, can you give me the strength to say no so that I can have some healthy, wholesome, Jesus-centered boundaries to take care of myself, right? You guys, I say this all the time on the podcast and in my community, but man, it's like we're flying on an airplane. What does the flight attendant say if the cabin loses oxygen pressure? Put the oxygen mask on yourself first so that then you can help everyone else. But if you're feeling tired all the time, man, I would encourage you to take a time out and just ask the Lord and go into this holy season where you just get to know yourself a little bit deeper and even the Lord a little bit more in this season. And I know, trust me, I know because I used to struggle with this so much that the word self-care used to feel so selfish, like so selfish to take care of myself. Well, the paradigm shifted for me and my lens changed on that when I realized, oh my gosh, the Lord gave me myself first to steward. And if I don't steward myself well first, and I don't just mean spiritually, right? This is not all just a spiritual game, you guys. Yes, we live in a spiritual world and there's a lot of aspects of us that need to be right spiritually. But we have these physical bodies that we have to take care of and we have to tend to. And we've got mental health stuff and emotional health. Like we have to be so integrated. And you guys, this is why sometimes we do all the right things. We go to church, we do the Bible studies, we do the retreats, and yet we're still just burned out and exhausted. And we're trying to have joy, but we even sometimes forgot even what joy feels like or what joy is. And listen, it's not all about a feeling, but I'm talking about having that alignment, that soul alignment to know that even when hard things come, man, you're on the right path and you're doing the right thing and you know what the next right steps are for you emotionally, mentally, physically, and yes, spiritually. And so I wanted to share just 6 simple things that I've been kind of prioritizing the last several weeks that honestly has been so soul nourishing for my body, for my mind, for my spirit, and emotionally. It's just been so amazing. And I've been sharing these little shifts with my clients too. And I think it's starting to impact them as well. And so I wanted to share it with you guys, my people. Okay. So first of all, number one, the most obvious thing, right, to take care of our physical beings, our emotional beings, mental health, and even spiritually is sleep, prioritizing sleep. And let me tell you, I think I never learned how to sleep well, even as a child. I remember, this is a funny story, not throwing my parents under the bus, but when I had Mackenzie, I kid you not, Mackenzie was having a kind of a hard time sleeping. And I was raised of the generation where you kind of medicate the kids, right? So I remember, and even further back, my dad's generation, his parents used to give them like alcohol on their lips, right, to help them sleep or to fix a toothache or anything, right? These like homemade remedies. But I remember taking Triamidic so many times as a kid. It was like this orange sweet thing. I just thought it was vitamins. I don't even know. But I'd take Triamidic as a kid to sleep. And when my daughter was born, Mackenzie, I remember my mom was like, "Oh, she's having trouble sleeping. Give her some Triamidic." And I'm like, "Why? She doesn't have a fever." She's like, "Oh, it helps her sleep." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, mom, that's what you did to me." And I remember just giving my mom such a hard time. And we just laughed about it because that's what her doctor told her to do to me. And so I like literally never learned how to sleep. Okay. So I still wake up sometimes 3 in the morning. And if I'm not up, let me just tell you, if I can't get back to sleep within 20 minutes, I'm out of bed and I go to the living room because there's no point in sitting there and just letting your brain struggle. And I've done enough research now to know that if you get out of bed and you kind of move locations, you have the potential of actually falling asleep on the couch, or you just get going with your day and go to bed hopefully earlier that night, or maybe take a power nap in the middle of the day if you have enough time and are able to. But sleep, you guys, is just number one priority: emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical health. I'm telling you right now, my goal is to get 8 hours. I do well a few nights a week, maybe even 5, 6 nights a week, but the other nights it's kind of a struggle. And so sleep has always needed to be a priority. And I'm reminded of that in this season, especially these hibernation season, where if you're just working through and you're trying to do some deep work within yourself, it's exhausting. You feel a little bit more tired during the day. It's okay. It's all part of it. It's kind of God's way of telling you, like, just go take a nap, right? Like biblically, how many times have we heard the story about Elijah? He was just emotionally exhausted and he just went and slept, right? And then the angel of the Lord woke him up and fed him with bread and water. And then he just went right back to sleep, right? Like sometimes we just need sleep. We just need more rest, right? And we can get away with 5.5 hours of sleep for many years. Trust me, I was that. I was like, I only need about 5, 6 hours of sleep. That was such bologna and cheese. When I was younger, man, I think I really needed more sleep. And so, but I didn't know how to prioritize it. So now I'm prioritizing sleep, eating healthy. I'm really prioritizing my eating, what works well for my body, right? And so just want to encourage you, man, eat what works well for your body and figure that out and drink more water and hydrate. You wouldn't believe how many times just people are just so dehydrated. And so I want to encourage you, get the electrolyte water. I drink electrolyte water every day. I've been encouraging my clients, drink more electrolyte water. Like our body is depleted. And so we just need to be more hydrated. It really helps in every way. Okay, this one's kind of funny. Exercise. So now I pride myself in that the last several years, I've been exercising a ton more than I did for the prior 10 years. I'm a recovering athlete, so I have not exercised hard in 20 years. But when I was a kid and even into my 20s, man, I was like uber athlete, super athletic in sports, all that sort of stuff. But I've been exercising. I've been doing my like yoga stretches and all that stuff and going on walks and hikes and even playing pickleball lightly and all the things. Well, my nephew came to town a couple weeks ago for a visit and he's like uber athlete. He's like, "Aunt Danny, let's go exercise." I'm like, "Let's go. I'm ready." So we went out into the gym. We have a gym in our garage we put together for Zach a couple years ago. We cleaned out the garage. We got it all neat and organized. And oh my gosh, he kicked my butt. And I realized I've not really been exercising in years. And so this is a whole other episode I'm going to record about, but exercise, move your body, do what feels right for you, right? So go on walks, prioritize, swim if you like to swim, like do what is healthy for you to push your body and to exercise, right? That we all know we need it, but maybe it's time to reevaluate what you're even doing for exercise, right? So that's been something I've been focusing on. All right, the fourth thing is inputs in my life. So I've been limiting the news. I struggle with social media. I struggle with kind of all the hate in the air. It just really, as a sensitive being, and this is who God made me to be, it hurts my soul to see all this conflict out there in the world and struggle and all of that. And some may say I'm naive and I'm burying my head in the sand, and maybe, but I got to tell you, it's a much healthier, holy way for me to live right now. And I'm not ignoring what's going on or the facts or society in general, but I've had to kind of take a time out and guard my inputs because it stresses me out. And I've got zero control other than how I vote. And I've had to be really careful with my inputs. So I've been limiting social media and I've been limiting the news. And honestly, it's really, really helped. I've also began searching out like panda videos on social media or comedy videos. And so I'm kind of beginning to change the algorithm. So let me just tell you, I don't know much about social media, although we're about to hit social media with my podcast and all of that. But, I do know that the algorithm pays attention to us. And so be intentional with what you even put in your feed. And so I've been searching out like cute little panda videos and I just laugh and they just warm my hearts. I love pandas and I love comedy. I've been watching Robin Williams and John Christ and Nate Bargatze. And I love, love, love comedy. And it just reminds me to laugh. And I love to laugh. And so want to encourage you, take control of your social media algorithm. If you're going to be on there, man, search out things that encourage you. I was just doom scrolling and watching things that just stress me out that I have no control over. And I was like, I need a time out from this. So this is part of my hibernation protocol is I limit the social media. So you guys, I'm putting boundaries on myself. Sure. Do I want to go to my phone and look at it? Absolutely. I have had such a phone addiction in the past that I'm trying to break out of, but be true to thy own self. Know yourself. I'm not going to just beat myself up for being drawn to this device that literally was created to draw us to it. But I got to put boundaries up even on myself. So I bought this little thing. It's called a phone jail, and I lock it in the phone jail a couple hours a day. At first, I was like withdrawing, like, oh my gosh, like I was a drug addict. But I got to tell you now, it's like a deep sigh of relief that I don't have to deal with my phone, and it's wonderful. And the kids know to call dad when my phone's in the phone jail, and it's wonderful. And so, I want to encourage you: limit your inputs, right? Like choose what you allow in. You know, guard the gates, so to speak. We used to tell our kids when we would watch TV if a crazy commercial came on, like guard your gates. And they'd cover their eyes. And because we said, like, the eyes are the gateway to the castle. Like, this is your castle, you guys. We got to take care of the castle with which God has entrusted us to take care of, right? And so, guard your gates, guys. Literally, guard your gates and take care of what your inputs are. Okay, and this last one has been a game changer, and I do this with my clients. We kind of brainstorm together, but I gave myself permission to infuse more joy and more fun in my life. Now, listen, you might be like, Danny, I don't have time for joy. I don't have time for fun. I'm busy with work and I'm busy with my family and all the things. Man, if you don't have time for joy and fun, ah, I think you need to kind of take a time out and kind of find some perspective in that. Like, you need to give yourself permission to figure out in this season of your life what brings you joy. What is fun for you? So I love pickleball. Like I said, I'm a retired athlete. And so I like fun sports, tennis and pickleball. And so even at Christmas time, my whole family was together. My parents' 14 grandkids, my brothers, their wives. We were all together and we had this big pickleball tournament and it ignited that joy in me again for pickleball. And I was competitive. Like I didn't even let the little kids win. Like I took it serious. It was so fun. I think I pulled a hamstring, but we didn't win, but it was so fun. It was so fun. And so since Christmas, I've been really playing more pickleball and having fun and laughing. And it's been joyful. One of the other things that I do that I tell my clients about, but I'm not sure I've ever talked about it on the podcast, is most mornings after Zach leaves for school and Gary goes off to the office or whatever he's going to do, I turn on music and I dance. And I love to dance. I'm not the best dancer, okay, at all, but it's so fun and it gets my body moving and it makes me joyful, makes me happy. It brings gladness to my soul. So it's something that I've just been giving myself more and more permission, and I've actually implemented it again as a tool. Like you guys know, I'm really big on all these tools to be able to nurture and take care of my whole being, my mind, my emotions, my physical being, and my spirit, like my spiritual wellness and wholeness. And so I hope this blesses you. If you're in kind of on the edge of burnout, or you feel like maybe you're in burnout, I give you a big old permission card to hibernate, especially if you're struggling with like anxiety or some depression. Like, we don't isolate, right? but hibernate, meaning be very intentional with what you're doing and who you're doing it with and how you're doing it in your life. But you have permission to take the reins back, to take a time out and to say, Lord, who do I want to be about? What do I want to be about in this season? And how do I want to go about it? And so it has been just one of the most soul nourishing seasons. And I'm so grateful that I gave myself and my soul this permission time. And I got to tell you, God has been so faithful. I believe our higher power is in love with us. And I know a lot of us have kind of not a broken relationship with our higher power, but maybe a confused one, or maybe we don't understand how God's grace could be for us. Like we know it's for everybody else, but man, in this hibernation season, it can come alive for you. And so I want to give you permission to do that. Okay. And lastly, I have a quote for you. I just found this quote and I just think it's amazing. It's by a gal named Jean Shinoda Bolin. I think that's how you pronounce it. But she says, when you recover or discover something that nourishes your soul and brings joy, care enough about yourself to make room for it in your life. And I know that can hit some of us hard, like, woo, man, giving ourselves permission to do the things that nourish us and to take care of our soul so that we can give from a well within that is filled up, that is filled with joy, that is filled with love, that is filled with compassion and empathy for others. But you guys, it starts with us. We've got to find those tools and those perspectives to have compassion and empathy and love and care for ourselves. And the only way to do that that I know of is to go deep and to actually begin listening to our deepest parts. The deepest part of you, your soul, is speaking. Sometimes there's too much noise going on around us that we don't even know. We can't even hear it. We think it's like critical and mean and we're hard on ourselves. That's not your deepest self. That might be your, shitty committee, as I call it, the negative self-talk in your head, or the critical parent that still lives on in you, or the ex-boyfriend or ex-husband that harmed you or hurt you or talked hurtful to you. But that's not your deepest self. Your deepest self wants to be birthed, wants to have a seat at the table, right? And maybe your deepest self is kind of hibernating or pulling back. And so that's all I wanted to say today is just give you guys a big old permission card, a big permission card to evaluate. Check out where you're at. If you're coming to burnout, man, you have permission to take care of your soul and to take care of yourself because you only get one life. This is it. And let me tell you, while there's still breath left in your lungs, God still wants to use you. There's still more for you to do on this planet, but you've got to do it from a place of being filled up. And so I just give you permission to take care of yourself. Also, if this content resonates with you and you're like, man, Danny, I want to learn how to take care of my soul. I want to learn how to integrate my mind, my spirit, my body, and all of that. And I want to live a really whole and fulfilling life, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. If you want to reach out and you'd like some one-on-one support from me, there's a link in the show notes. It's a discovery call. You schedule it. It's 45 minutes with me, and we just explore what it would look like to work together for 3 months or for a few months. I love working with my clients. This is what I was created to do. It's what I was made to do. I love helping people work through the things that are inhibiting them from truly shining who they were created to be and living their life to the fullest. And listen, I'm not saying we're going to be teleported out of circumstances. Some of us have hard histories and hard circumstances, but this is about rewriting your story, not to change the facts of your story, but to change your perspective and to give you your power back so that you can write the rest of your chapters in a really empowered, fun, soulful, amazing way. If that is something that's resonating with you, man, jump on a discovery call with me. I'd love to meet with you. I love meeting with my listeners of the podcast. And so let's just see together if it's something that you need that would serve you well in this season to have a one-on-one coaching relationship with me. All right, let me say a prayer for you and I will see you in a few days. Father God, thank you. Thank you for your love and your grace. And God, I thank you for the listeners. I thank you for just bringing them even here in the honor of doing this life together as we journey, as we just figure out one day at a time how to take care of ourselves, God, so that we can be who you created us to be, Lord, with our unique stories, our unique histories, God, and as we can serve the people in our lives as you've called us to do. But Lord, I'm reminded in this season, serving from a dry well or a burnt out place it brings up bitterness. It brings up resentment. It's just hard. And so, Lord, would you just bless my friend? Would you give them permission for a hibernating season if they need it? God, would you fill them? Would you protect them? Would you watch over them? Would you help them to know that you love them and that they are worth taking care of? And Lord, would you give them permission to truly take care of themselves in a deep, rich, meaningful way? And I thank you, Lord, for what you're doing in my heart and mind this season as I've hibernated with you, as you've just continued to go deep in me to bring more healing. Bless my friend in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen and amen. I love you guys. I'm so grateful for you.